Free Time is an action-packed race-to-the-end board game set in prison. Players take on one of two roles: the prisoner, where they will avoid the warden's grasp while also stealing and brawling with other prisoners, or the warden, where they will be trying to halt the progress of the prisoners while also collecting coins to try and win the game. Brawls are a fundamental part of the game and occur when two prisoners land on the same space or when they are in adjacent spaces in the hallways. Both players have to roll their dice, and the highest roll, once the modifier cards have been added or subtracted, gets roughly a third of the coins from the other player. The prisoner wins by collecting or stealing 10 coins, while the warden wins by collecting or confiscating 15 coins. Coins can be found around the board, but there are also warden cards, prisoner cards, and modifier cards that can be used to give the player an advantage or to give a disadvantage to another player. In Chapter 11 of Rules of Play by Salen and Zimmerman, they discuss that the rules of a game should be shared by all players of the game. If players land next to each other in these halls, then it still initiates a brawl. Players win by hiding a set amount of points in the middle cell, however, risk reward for carrying more in their pockets, as some cards can double or triple the current in-hand points. However, if in a brawl, points will be lost, or if caught by the warden, then 1/3 of all held points are given to them. A brawl doesn't have to occur if both players choose not to fight. Players decide what path they go down at the start of the game, but then they must follow the flow of the board by going down into the center halls every time they pass one. Players must show what modifier card they have in their hand, with a maximum of 3 being held at any time. If a player lands on a space where they would get another modifier card, then they can choose to swap it with their oldest one.
The prisoner is the main player of the game, and they have the goal of collecting points and stealing them from other players. This can be done through a variety of methods, such as the prisoner cards or brawls. Brawls are triggered when players land on the same space as each other, or when they are next to each other in the hallway. The players will then roll the dice to try and get a higher number than the other, after adding or subtracting points due to the modifier cards. When players reach the center of the game, they can then choose to go out via any hallway, allowing them to avoid the warden and other players, or to catch up to other players for the sake of triggering a brawl. Players must enter from the hall going into the center and exit via the one going out. Cards and card types. There are several kinds of cards. One of these is a modifier card. They are to add a bonus to brawl rolls. An example of this is a prisoner obtaining a card that will add +2 to their roll. This card can only be used once, and can also be used against the warden checks. However, if due to this card you win the warden check, you will not be gaining anything. Only the prisoners can pick up these cards. Now, prisoner cards are also only to be used by prisoners, some that must be used instantly, and others that the players can wait until they want to use it. They can protect against the warden, help to gain points quickly, or disrupt other players' actions. Warden cards are used only by the warden for the sake of disrupting players. We'll be going into more details about these in a future slide.
Players can cash in their points. Example: a player can have 6 points in total, and has cashed in 3, so they have 3 points in the cell. If the warden chooses to check the cell, the prisoner will lose 1/3 of the points in the cell. The prisoner cannot roll to defend their points that were in the cell. The warden wins when he has a total of 15 points. If the warden lands in the same tile as a prisoner, or vice versa, the warden can deduct 1/3 of the points from the prisoner, as long as they have the points on them. In this situation, the warden has landed on the same tile as a prisoner. From the dice we can see that the warden has beaten the prisoner, and therefore the prisoner loses 1/3 of their points.
Here are some examples for the modifier cards. We've got ones that add to your roll, such as the Knuckle Duster, which will +2, the Shank, which will +3, but then we've also got some that will remove from your total roll, such as the Broken Bone, which will -1. On this slide you can see some examples of the prisoner cards. We've got ones like Sprint, which allows you to roll the dice twice and use the total to move. Or we've got Brawl, which will immediately start a fight with another prisoner. Or we've got Double, our best yet rarest card, which will immediately double your in-hand points.
Meaningful play means that actions and the outcomes are both discernible and integrated into our game. Important decisions in free play. Players can choose which directions to move in. They can choose to challenge other players when they land on the same tiles, or even choose to keep or bank some coins. Play is evaluative, meaning that the players are aware of their choices and the impact those choices have on gameplay. For instance, the players are aware of which direction they can move in to run away from the warden or other players. Each choice is significant to the player. For instance, if a player decided to carry all their coins in them through the game, they know there's a risk of losing some of this in a brawl. But they also know that they can gain a double card, which doubles all the points they have on them. So this makes gameplay significant. Descriptive, meaning actions lead to an outcome. For instance, actions such as landing on the same tile equals a brawl, and that equals more points. A main mechanic of our game is randomness and chance, and uncertainty, and many argue that the involvement of chance reduces choice and thus reduces meaningful play. However, Roger Callowes, in his book Man, Play and Games, Chance, argues that meaningful play can occur in game systems based purely on chance, such as snakes and ladders. Using Jesse Schell's method of playtesting, we ask questions such as who, why, where, what, and how. And using Fullerton's method, we were able to play the game, discuss, and wrap up, and the most significant change was a change to the game board. Using Fullerton's formal elements, free time falls into a player versus player game. The objectives are to outwit and chase. The rules, we have defining rules and restrictive rules, as Edward explained. We have resources, which are enhancements such as cards. We have conflict, which are obstacles, the modifier cards to tile restrictions, opponents, which are other players, and a dilemma, which is the warden. We have perceived boundaries and explicit boundaries, and the outcome is the first player to get 10 coins or the warden 15 coins wins the game. Our game space can be defined as discrete tessellated geometry set on a large two-dimensional circular grid, with a central tile connected to the outer 24 tiles by 4 linear groups containing each 8 tiles, making a total of 31 tiles. We considered what shape best fitted our game, and after researching prison architectural design, we came up with a design for free time. We chose this layout because it created an open system that relays the design and architecture of real prisons, as you can see from the images of Pentonville and New Bailey Prison.
Ernest Adams suggests that games balance should meet 6 criteria. Does our game provide meaningful choice? Yes, it does. Is the role of chance so great that the player's skill becomes irrelevant? Uncertainty and chance are a large part of our game. However, the roll of the die does not prevent a player from using their skills, example, tactical maneuvering. Therefore, we conclude that the roll of chance was not so great that the player's skill became irrelevant. Do the players perceive the game to be fair? After playtesting, our conclusion was that each player has a fair chance of winning, and neither the warden nor the players have more advantages. Do players who fall behind early in the game get a reasonable opportunity to catch up again before the game ends? Yes, they do, due to how our card system works. Does the game seldom or never result in a stalemate, particularly among players of unequal ability? Free time allows for all players to have a chance to evaluate during the game after each turn with the use of hidden cards as well as free points on the board, so each player has a chance to elevate during the game. During playtesting, prisoner Anita looked like she was about to win. However, 3 minutes toward the end of the game, the warden TJ picked up some points and through decision making, chose the move to the cells that would elevate his points, thus causing him to win with 15 points. Is the game's level of difficulty consistent? Yes, the level of difficulty was consistent throughout the gameplay. We have refined the game in multiple ways. Our original design was similar to Mario Party, as when you moved around the board, you competed in mini-games to gain points. But this made the game too long and confusing. We changed this to the prisoner, warden, and modifier cards, as well as the brawl system. We felt this was more unique than creating another minigame simulator. We also had a much larger board, but due to this, players rarely met each other. This took away from the conflict element of the game, which we wanted to be a key feature.
Tracy Fullerton suggests that balancing a game is the process of making sure the game meets the goals you have set for the player experience. That system is the scope and complexity you envision, and that the elements of your system are working together without undesired results. So our final question was, does free time embody the level of complexity we envisioned working together without undesired results? Our answer was yes.